Hey guys, and welcome back for today's final best of 3 matchup here in the FACEIT Challenger Invitationals number 2. I am Vince Metuz. This guy is James Stress O'Leary, and it's going to be Cloud9 Eclipse facing off against Faculty.
Yeah, that's a good game to finish on the day on.
Certainly.
We are heading into picks and bans. One thing to note before we go in, Cloud9 Eclipse are playing with 2 substitutes currently. So it is not the full lineup that we would expect from Cloud9. However, I hear they have some pretty suitable replacements.
They do. I know one of these guys extremely well. Zyraz is a phenomenally strong player. I has balls, though. Not only is that a strange name, but I know nothing about him, I'm going to be honest.
I kind of am at a situation where now I know chat are going to explode of why is Balls playing in Europe. Because, of course, Cloud9 Balls from North American LCS team. It's not Balls. I don't think it is. That would be bad if it was.
Plot twist, actually, isn't it? It's his EU account.
That wouldn't be good.
But either way, I can shed some light on Zyraz. He used to play for Team Property before I believe they disbanded, which were a Swedish team. He was at DreamHack. They performed pretty decent, and he was the top laner for them. But he told me at the time that he wasn't overly happy with top lane. He always felt like he was better in mid. So I'm not sure who they're coming in to replace, and I'm not sure where they're playing, because we've just found out this information like literally 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it will be Zyraz in the top lane replacing Odo Amne, and then I has Balls is... I saw a tweet the other day, and we'll get to the picks and bans. I'll mention this in a sec. Lulu's going to be the first pickup. I think that's a fairly smart choice here. Consistent in lane, doesn't really have any poor lane matchups, especially now that Kassadin and Yasuo are banned. So
yeah, that's exactly the case. And Lulu, a versatile pick as well. You know, as you say before, support, top, mid. You don't really know where she's going to go. You can assume, but then, of course, you can counterpick yourself in a really horrible way. But yeah, I think it's going to be Zyra's top. He's a very versatile player. He's actually got to challenger as top, mid, and support on separate occasions. So that's how good he is. But Febiven is the mid laner for Cloud9 Eclipse. So he's obviously not going to play mid.
The thing I was going to say was I saw a tweet the other day about Ku. And of course, Ku is only 16 right now. I saw a tweet that said Cloud9 Europe are potentially looking for LCS promotion, as every team is. And of course, Ku wouldn't be eligible for that. So I've heard that they're apparently loaning him out. I haven't had confirmation on this. This is nothing that I'm saying 100%. It's just a tweet I saw from a member of the community. And that's
pretty interesting.
It is interesting if it is true. I can't say whether it's true or not. That's
of course, yeah.
Just speculation.
But the speculation itself is very interesting, and often speculation is formed on somewhat fact. It's not going to just come out of thin air.
Yeah.
But whether it's entirely that way, not too sure. This is the first time we've seen Pantheon today.
It is.
And one of the first times he's not been banned.
And now, interestingly enough, Faculty aren't... Well, they're going to run with Vi, which is consistent champion. Now, there has been a little bit of an advent of Pantheon counters ever so recently in the form of a Nocturne, which we're not seeing here. But, it's something to keep an eye on as we go through tomorrow's games as well.
Yeah, very much the case. It's seen a couple of times. Well, Rumble. And what I would say is, alongside you, Zyras loves Rumble. It's one of his main characters at top. So he plays a mean Rumble. Whether he's going to lock it in or not, though, is yet to be seen, because Rumble has definitely fallen out of favor. There's no two ways about that. He's not a go-to top-tier top laner.
He's not, although a lot of the reasons are very similar to why Renekton fell out. It has got locked in. So Rumble didn't really get that much changed recently at all. It's just that everything around him evolved. And he kind of fell out. And as you said, he fell out of favor because can't tank as much damage in lane, and certain champions dealt with his damage fairly well. But in this situation, Renekton Rumble is a very, very standard matchup for Season 3.
Yeah, and as I said before, he played Rumble almost exclusively at DreamHack, and he always won his lane.
Okay.
And he always won his lane hard. So even though he's very, very self-critical, he performed extremely well with his champion. So that in itself is quite exciting for me, but they've also got Pantheon for the first time today, as I said before. And they've got Lucian as well with Thresh, which we saw last time around, that duo bot lane. So scary to play against.
Looking for their last pick as their mid laner now. Of course, AP top gives them the opportunity to pick a more AD-focused mid laner.
But Zed against Lulu.
This was what I was about to say. Will it be Zed? Because Lulu's shield is going to give her a fair way of surviving through Deathmark. If you use it after the initial damage to survive the second damage, you may do pretty well. Same with her ult. You can get that extra spike in health, extra spike in shield. Yep. So you can survive through it. It's just a lane that we haven't seen too much. That being said, Lulu should farm fairly well in lane, as should Zed. I mean, neither really will be at too much of a disadvantage.
Well, Febivan does play, I think, even main Zed for a long time when Zed was the top tier pick. So, again, it's a comfort pick. We talk about counter picking and what's good against what. Ultimately, if you're playing a champion you're comfortable with and you have 5 to 1,000 games with, 500 to 1,000 games.
I was going to say 5 to 1,000 is a low threshold because
that's pretty broad. If you've got over 500 to 1,000 games, like you're going to be good with that champion. You're going to know the limitations. You're going to know the strengths.
I was going to say because otherwise I'm a god on Rumble.
I've seen
got
those
5
equalizers.
games.
I've seen the equalizers, dude. One of them was godlike. I will give you that, but the other 6, not so much.
I think it was more like 10, but
there you go.
Just saying, gotta be truthful. The more you know.
Yeah, with the equalizers. But regardless, we are now in the delay. As you can see, the two teams have locked in. I think we've seen Renekton pretty much every game. So
and
far.
if we haven't, he's been banned. He's back to being as consistent as he ever was. Again, very similar to Rumble. Didn't change. Everything else around him changed. And then it's being reverted slowly. That champions just aren't quite as good as they were before. So Renekton, who is still as good as he was before, is better than everybody again.
Yeah, and I'm just curious about Pantheon in jungle with this composition, because if Pantheon Skyfall's at bot lane, Sivir has no escape, Annie is squishy, there's serious potential of getting double kills down there.
There is, but at the same time, they are running a fairly tankless setup here on Cloud9.
That's true.
Thresh will become tanky. That's, the advent of Thresh as you head through the mid and late game. You start picking up the itemizations, but with damage jungler, AP top, and damage mid laner, you haven't really got that utility that, certain other picks pick up. And top laners, this is one of the risks of picking up a damage top laner, is you can end up without the survivability.
All right, well, everything's been locked in. I've got about 1:20 left on the delay, so this gives us an opportunity to discuss the reason why this is all happening, FACEIT, and of course, the sponsors of Overwolf, who very kindly have given this a chance to flourish. But FACEIT itself, if you have just joined us and you didn't know, is a platform designed for gamers to basically log themselves in for complete free. You don't have to pay. There are premium accounts, but ultimately it's free to use. And you can play CSGO, Quake, or League of Legends. By playing the game, you actually acquire FACEIT points that you can then redeem for awesome prizes. It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Haven't yet got the development team on the alarm clock yet, but it's being worked on, guys.
It's on its way.
Hopefully by the end of tomorrow we'll have a prototype, which will just be like my phone with an alarm on it, because that's how easy it is these days. But you can get a keyboard or a mouse or a headset or any of those awesome prizes, or car.
That's also possible for 5 million points. So you better start playing now if you want to get that.
But not right now, after this game.
That's a good point.
After the series.
But they could sign up now while we're waiting
for
the delay.
That would be a good thing to do, actually.
You could sign up now, wait for the delay. By the time you're done, the game will be started.
Yep.
Everyone's
That's how easy it is. FACEIT.com. It's pretty quick.
Pretty straightforward. You can also visit them on Twitter at FACEIT or FACEIT Community on Facebook. And also please like and follow this stream page, because there will be more awesome tournaments like this one in the future, I'm sure.
And also if CSGO is your thing, there's a lot of CSGO that gets broadcasted from our lovely friends at FACEIT.
I believe yesterday they had a tournament on.
It was if anybody caught it, it was Fnatic hosted an event from Meltdown live in London. So Fnatic went to London, we came here. Everybody's traveling around currently. So, it's a big old traveling group. But no, it's, FACEIT do a lot of awesome stuff. So make sure you follow.
And if you weren't aware of where here is, Milan, Italy, is where we are currently streaming and casting from, which is a lovely place, but raining.
Raining, as always. Being Welsh, I kind of just
used to it.
used to that. I don't know, what in Finland, what Does it rain or does it just like shards of ice?
Yeah, there's just blocks of ice.
Okay.
Finnish people are known for their metallic heads. It just bounces off them. It's quite similar in many ways to English weather. Strangely enough, it's a lot hotter than people would think. In summer, it's actually like 30 degrees.
Jeez.
And I melt. But in winter, it obviously gets to pretty low temperatures.
That's not what I was expecting. I'm gonna be honest. I thought blizzards and
They do happen as well, of course,
snowstorms.
but it's not like 365 days a year.
ice, just
Winter.
pure ice.
Yeah, their summers are actually hotter than England.
Cool. Well,
Summoner's Rift.
we are. Yes,
We're actually
going
on it.
in. Game number 1, Cloud9 Eclipse, going up against Faculty here in our final best of 3 of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed it will be. And then, if you didn't know, we do have the finals and the semi-finals up tomorrow, which is going to be 3 best of 3. So plenty more League of Legends action upcoming. But regardless, Cloud9 Eclipse facing off against Faculty, who I actually saw playing in the Coke Zero Challenger League for Riot. And I believe they're against the Fox Sound, and they actually lost.
Ooh, I didn't quite catch that series. I
2
must
days ago,
admit.
I think.
I can't blame that one on traveling.
No. But then again, my sleeping schedule was really messed up, so I caught like the tail end of it. I think so. Like, my memory's not the greatest thing in the world, but I'm pretty sure I remember Faculty losing.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to go back into the annals of time and try and figure that one out. We are in a pause, unfortunately, which is our first win of the day, and I'm going to blame this one on production for saying in between the last 2 games
They did, yeah.
that we've had no pauses.
Cursed.
So, yep, it's what happens. Vince tweets, it's going to get better from here, and ends up in a car accident, and production. I know it's different scales of magnitude here. Production say to us there's no pauses, and then
which also goes on to the fact that I'm sure there's been a lot of people that are tuned in. They've been like, "Who's that scrub in the black T-shirt?" When the other guy's in a shirt.
I just got this guy off the street. It turns out he knows quite a lot about League.
He did. He literally. I have an English accent. I'm actually Italian. He got me off the Milan streets. But regardless,
that's like 1 in a million.
Yeah.
You just go up to somebody and be like, "You."
Who also knows a bit about League. What are the odds?
I know, right?
Pretty astronomical. But yeah, the reason I actually have this T-shirt on is because I lost my luggage. I didn't lose it. The airplane people did.
Yeah.
And also tried to order more shirts, didn't come through, and then car accident, all in the same day. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's what happened. That was Vince's exciting day yesterday. Yeah.
Exciting is definitely one word to use for it. Not one I would use, but I guess it was. But Stress brought like really smart T-shirts, shirts, jackets, and then I'm just like sat here with my T-shirt on.
It is Fashion Week here in Milan, and
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I do not fit in with Fashion Week. I don't know where you thought I was going on that one.
What are you talking about? I'm well in with all the fashion with this black T-shirt.
Yeah,
like, man.
I didn't know Gucci did black.
They do now.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess they do. I don't even know whether Gucci's Italian. But there we go. That's our uncultured...
I think so.
I wasn't going to clarify.
I honestly don't actually know.
I was going to say, trying to hide like an interest in Italian fashion.
I am literally the most fashionable dude in the world.
Fashionista over here.
Yeah, don't let the poor taste in T-shirts put you off. I am the fashionablest, if that's even a word, guy in the world.
If not, you have just made
it up.
Yep, you're the fashionablest guy in the world.
England is not my strong suit, I guess. But regardless, we are here for League of Legends. We're just trying to fill in some dead time while the game is in pause. And this is the first pause we've had all day. If you don't class the hour pause that we had before, when Ninjas in Pyjamas Jungler fell off the edge of the world or something. Apparently, he was asleep and he didn't know he had to play.
Yeah. But at least when we're on a pause, you guys can see in the background that we are still on a pause. So as soon as that starts ticking down to the countdown, we'll be back into game. But unfortunately, you stuck with us for a little bit, guys. That's what we're here to do. We're here to entertain you while the time is ticking down. We've had a reconnect. So hopefully you won't be stuck with our entertaining too much longer.
I was going to say, normally at this stage, if we were online casting together, this is the point when I'd throw it to chat and say, ask us questions. But that's kind of hard to do right now.
It is, but we are counting down.
But we've been saved by Cedrion. So we're going to be jumping back into the game here, guys, in this first out of potential 3 games between Faculty and Cloud9 Eclipse, which, again, if you have just joined us, important to note, Cloud9 Eclipse have 2 substitutes. So the synergy, kind of goes without saying, is probably not going to be 100%.
It's an interesting point that, you're never too sure how substitutes affect the game, because you obviously have to assume that the players being brought in are of a comparative level. Otherwise, you wouldn't pick them. Obviously, you look for the best supports. So it's one of those things that, as you said, it's down to that synergy, how well the team can work together, how well they're good at following calls. And interestingly, I wonder whether Ku, and I assume he would have been the shot caller for Cloud9 Europe.
I believe so, because the jungle is such an influential role. So now you have 2 substitutes, one's top lane, one's jungle. Those are very difficult lanes to quickly replace, because within themselves they need to have synergy, and then your jungler needs to have synergy with every other lane as well. So this is a pretty scary time, I'd have to say, for Cloud9 Eclipse, but they are very strong players, and Zyraz, I think, will fit in very nicely in this team.
Voidal and Yanan are going to really pressure out this blue buff, and this kind of indicates to me that this is going to be a lane swap happening here. You can see Rumble heading down to the bottom lane as well. So I can't tell whether they want to avoid the Rumble Renekton matchup, or they want to pressure out this Renekton.
Zyraz is just very comfortable on 1v2s with Rumble. He's actually talked to me before about this, and he thinks that Rumble is one of the few 1v2 lanes where you can actually double kill.
Okay.
Where you can actually go all in and kill both players if they make mistakes, or if you get a jungle gank. And I've seen him do it time and time again, so he's very comfortable in this situation. However, I don't know, since me seeing him play last time and since actually having the conversation with him with the differences on the towers, because obviously they've changed with the health and such, and also the changes in the meta with Rumble and everything else, if that's still as viable as it used to be.
That's a really interesting point. We'll see whether that does, in fact, end up happening. I can see that it could. It's just a case of Faculty making mistakes in that respect. We'll keep an eye on that down in the bottom lane. But another talking point really is going to be this Zed versus Lulu matchup in this middle lane. And I'm wondering how Zed is actually going to do against the heavy shielding and heavy survivability of Lulu.
And the constant poke as well, and the range that she possesses over Zed. And then one of Zed's main go-to tools to get kills is the death mark, I should say. And speaking of death sentences, one's just landed actually on Pronbear at the top lane, but there's not enough follow-up to actually pick up that kill. I was going to say Deathmark is going to be completely wiped clean from the wild growth. It's going to be very difficult for Zed to actually pick up kills.
Oh, Pronbear. Oh, beautiful.
Oh my goodness, that's going to be a kill. Beautiful max range death sentence finding its mark, and the first blood, even better than that, goes to Lucian, the AD carry.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that's likely to be the tower. They've pushed out the wave behind it. I believe this was just following a siege wave, or a siege wave is on its way as well. So by the time that reaches the turret, they'll have significant damage done. And even though Renekton's death time was so short that he's pretty much back in lane already, that's so much damage already.
Yeah, very true. Well, Zyraz is having a bit of trouble right now with the constant spam from Zedrion's Ricochet, which is chucking that tower down very, very quickly. Pantheon's gone mid, though, and meanwhile, Vi is lurking around Wraith, so they need to be a bit careful they don't overextend.
Yeah, overextending we saw earlier really punished SK Gaming Prime, and there's the stun in the bottom.
It is. I don't think they can really follow up on this, though. Boomerang Blade catches fully onto Zyraz, but he is going to have to stand back here, actually, play a bit more passive.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's how you have to play this lane. He is level 4 to Pronbear's level 1, so that's something to keep in mind. Level 1 on Renekton is so weak.
Yep.
I mean, against anybody else that's level 1 is going to be fine, but against anybody that is anything higher, you can't do anything. You have Kill the Meek available, and that's it.
The good news, though, is that they have taken down that first tower. Now, I'd be interested to see if the AD support combo pick up this tower, then go bot lane for Cloud9, and then put Zyraz at top against Renekton, because as you mentioned before, Renekton is so far behind on experience that Zyraz then would be pretty difficult to kill or deal with.
Yeah, it's a question, though, of how they really initiate that kind of lane swap. They've had Renekton moving around with Obvious just to try and get as much experience in the jungle as possible, and Pantheon dropping down to this bottom lane. It just looks like they want to take this one fairly slow, to be honest. They don't really want to force the issue too much, and it's the same for Cloud9.
So Featherven is 8 CS behind Lulu, which it could be a lot worse, to be honest. But Sigu has already hit level 6 and is going all in with the Ignite. Is this going to be enough damage?
Yeah.
It's going to be so close. There we go. Picks up the kill.
Yep, that was enough. It's one of those ones where marginally, but the last tick was enough.
Yep, it was very, very close. But the important part is got the kill. And did Zed hit 6? No. So he's going to be coming back to the lane, level 5 still.
And that's pretty important because Forbidden's not going to have any time to use that death mark without wild growth being available now. Now they have to try and force out the wild growth without using the death mark, which is going to be difficult.
It's going to require jungle, I think. It's going to require a lot of Pantheon's presence in the mid lane. But yeah, I was expecting this to happen where the duo lane comes to bot and allows Zyraz to go top against Renekton, because Zyraz now has the components of the Haunting guys, and Renekton just has cloth armor. So the AP damage that's going to be coming down, the magic damage, he's going to have nothing to deal with.
And
to deal with it, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, Haunting guys as well, as you said, is such an important first item onto Rumble. It allows you to be a little bit tanky, deal significant damage as well, and if you can balance being in the danger zone before overheating, then you can output a lot of damage from that increased Flame Spitter damage.
For some reason, when you said, can you deal with being in a danger zone, I thought of Top Gun. I don't know why, but Foyle has been caught out here from Obvious and the rest of his team. Sivir picks up the kill. I'm going to put down some damage on the mid lane. Have you ever seen Top Gun?
Of course I've seen Top Gun.
Okay. Highway to the danger zone, dude. That's where it's at.
It is. Dragon, however, is a danger zone right now.
It definitely is. And it looks like it's going to be falling to Faculty. Although pings have came down, so IHAS Balls and also Featherven are here on point. IHAS Balls goes in. Does he have the potential to outsmite Vine? No, he doesn't, and he will be falling with it. Hyjin actually is getting completely obliterated from Oblivion. Obvious, I should say. And here comes the follow-up damage from Featherven going on to Mountain. We'll be picking up this kill. There we go, double kill for Zed, and now pulling back towards Sigu, who's just fallen himself. So at the end of all that action, that was a Dragon going to the side of Faculty, but a 3-for-2 trade, I believe.
Yeah, overall, I think it may have actually been 3-for-1.
3-for-1, okay.
Yeah, IHAS Balls was the only one that fell there, unless they made it back pretty quickly. But yeah, it was a 3-for-1 trade overall. C9 are going to push down into this bottom turret as well. Haven't quite got a health reader on the top side of the map for that turret, but there's a big wave that was pushed up there, and Zyraz has found out Prawn Bear, but now it's a case of who trades better. At level 7 to level 5, definitely going to be Rumble. They're looking to go aggressive. Oh, he flashes.
That's a really nice Grand Skyfall from IHAS Balls, not able to close the gap just yet. Obvious similarly prefers a blue buff over his top laner, and he made his choice and he's sticking with it.
Yeah, and it's going to come back and haunt him a little bit there, because loses his top laner, gives another kill over to Cloud9 Eclipse. And Cloud9 Eclipse right now have about a 700 gold lead. And, you know, it's not the biggest of leads right now, but when you take into account that the Dragon actually went in favor of Faculty, that's a fair lead.
And look, when you also take into account that Renekton is still only level 5 and Zyraz's Rumble is on 7, that's a pretty big difference as well. Dominus is not even available just yet for Prawn Bear, so that is definitely going to put him in really bad positions. And this is allowing Zyraz to pretty much freely roam to mid. So it's not just a case of Renekton's far behind, it's a case of now Rumble can camp mid lane.
That's a very greedy buy in the mid lane. Tear of the Goddess is basically saying, I don't care so much about you right now, Zed. I've got the Seeker's Arm Guard, so I'm fine. But later on in this game, I am going to output a lot of damage and heal and get a big shield. So he'll have his own shield, he'll have the Seraph's Embrace shield, he'll also have his ultimate. So we'll survive later, but for now, it leaves him a little bit vulnerable. He doesn't have the most amount of damage and really has to be careful.
He does on the hunt down at bot lane with the Tibbers as well. Voidal is not long for this world. The box has managed to catch on the edge of a couple of those players, but here comes Obvious from the side. Force it with a flash. Soul Battery from Obvious picks up the kill. And 3 ultimates used in the process though, so pretty expensive kill.
3 ultimates there for a support. And they may end up losing the middle lane for it. They've pushed another wave into the turret. They're looking to go aggressive onto Lulu, and Pronbear is going to get caught out in the top lane as well. Yeah,
Grand Skyfall into mid. That is going to be the death mark on Sigu. Does he have the sustain to keep himself alive? This could actually be Febiven falling. No, it won't be. The Ignite was not quite enough damage. Now Zyraz, Pronbear going at it. And it looks like they're both going to back away fairly unscathed.
N-Faculty rotating to the bottom lane this time, and it just seems like N-Faculty are doing a good job of damage control when they're in trouble, but at the same time taking objectives and positioning themselves for objectives when they do have the lead.
Yep, and that's normally the mark of a pretty good team. They can capitalize on the weaknesses or the strengths of their own comp. The weakness, of course, of the enemy. And that's what we saw Gamers 2 do previously in the day, that they were able to capitalize on all the free dragons that they ended up getting after snowballing in the early game.
Yeah, and one thing that it looks like Cloud9 Eclipse 2 want to capitalize on is the leads that they have in lane already. Slight lead in the middle and AD carry roles. You can see that 2 kills to 1 kill in the mid. Kill a piece and a bit of extra CS on the AD carries. And really, I'm looking at what that equates to, and this build out of Lucian is fine, but at the same time, it doesn't give him much survivability. It gives him the extra health from the Phage, but without a completed item, as Sigu's actually going to get aggressed upon in the middle lane, forced to use the Wild Growth. That's what he's looking for, because now it's going to give him the opportunity to use the Death Mark when they go aggressive again.
Yeah, or potentially even Pantheon could play super aggressive and try and tower dive. Maybe not the greatest of ideas, but he is lurking around mid lane. And as you said about Lucian, yeah, completely right, that no Vampiric Scepter, no boots. So if he gets caught in a kind of trading situation where he is losing, he is going to die. And in fact, Pantheon does come in towards mid. Febiven using that death mark again, as you call, with the Wild Growth being down, but Obvious was there, right place at the right time, almost read the script, and he is there to pick up the kill on Pantheon. Can he save Sigu now, though? Is starting to come to the aid of his mid lane and does manage to save him for a few more moments. Febiven looking hungry here for the kill, but he's not able to do so. Really nice counter gank from Obvious.
Yeah, that was so good. That was almost certainly Sigu falling if that counter gank hadn't been there. Sigu has a fair amount of shielding, but wouldn't have been able to 2v1. That time gets away with it, and even with that ultimate difference in cooldown, the fact that Deathmark was available, Wild Growth wasn't, Lulu's able to survive through that.
Yep, so again, shows how tanky and how much sustain Lulu currently has. But it's going to be quite interesting to see how Febiven moves on from this position, because we were saying that he would struggle in mid, but he's actually doing a pretty nice job.
Yeah, he's ahead. He's 2-1 right now, and up on CS as well. It's I kind of feel like even though he died to begin that lane, he's done a really good job of applying pressure and positioning himself in lane.
And I'd also like to draw attention to the top lane. The Pronbear was level 1, I believe, when Zyraz was 4. And yet, you have a look at the difference in CS, only 6. He's done a great job to pull his way back into this game.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And the problem now is that N-Faculty have themselves a position on the second dragon of the game. That goes to them, and Cloud9 now are going to choose not to fight.
Tibbers onto Voidal, securing that kill, plus the dragon. Nice fight from N-Faculty, but again, they burn 2 ultimates for the support. But to be completely honest, they'll take it. The kill is there. The ultimates will be back up before they know it.
Yeah, and the dragon as well. The thing to note there was Cloud9 actually looked to go aggressive, but then as soon as the dragon was down, Voidal was the only one that stuck around and ended up getting picked off for it. And they can't really afford to let that happen too much.
Yep. Whereas maybe looking for a kill onto Zed, who is playing fairly aggressive right now around the blue buff. So you can start to see that Pronbear is coming in by himself, maybe a bit too antsy with this engage. Equalizer comes down, and they're going to turn this one back around, basically isolating Pronbear from the rest of his team there, but they didn't want to follow up as the Dominus had been used.
And without that, they can't really get too much damage on him. It's one of those things that makes him so tanky that it's so difficult to output damage that quickly this early on that really there's not a lot of point chasing it. You're just going to chase into another member.
Yeah, exactly, and that can quickly turn the advantage that you thought you had into a massive disadvantage, whereby you end up losing 2 or 3 players as a result. And we have seen SK Gaming in particular today make a couple of those mistakes and pay with it dearly in that second game that they lost.
C9 will take down that bottom outer tower. That takes them to 3 towers overall, so all of those outer towers have fallen in their favor. And now we're at that point of the game where you've got to try and pressure down an inner turret, and it's a little bit more tricky.
Because suddenly players can be behind you and kind of flank around in a pincer kind of movement, and suddenly before you know it, you're encircled and you are ending up dead. Sigu has been caught from a death sentence, going to be putting down so much damage, completely out of position right now. Has to use the ultimate and flash through the wall just to keep alive. And this is pretty much the green light for Cloud9, I have to feel, to try and make some plays, knowing that Lulu's ult and flash are both down.
Yeah, that's going to leave her very susceptible to any kind of aggression. And you can see C9 are looking to head towards the bottom lane. I had a feeling that they were looking for Dragon. Pantheon just used the man drop behind Sivir.
Sivir recalls, though.
Yep.
Nope.
Not getting it.
So that ultimate was for naught. Sivir is going to be coming back to lane with a Bloodthirster pickaxe and a longsword. So components of Last Whisper have been brought up, whereas Bloodthirster was finished off on Lucian, so he does now have that sustain. Yeah,
that'll give him the extra sustain, the extra damage. We talked earlier about the difference between Bloodthirster and just a BF sword and Bump Scepter. So Phage alongside that, going towards the Trinity Force that you see every Lucian build ever, which is, you know, very standard. There's been a couple of different builds recently, seeing Blade of the Ruined King come back in to the meta a little bit, but not the choice in this game in particular.
More often than not, if you see a Bloodthirster, it's going to be followed up by Triforce.
Yeah.
It's just like the way forward of Lucian. I've seen a couple Lucians go for Last Whisper next.
Yes.
Which isn't terrible, but Triforce overall just fits his kit better.
Syraz got to be a bit careful here.
Oh, Tibbers lands on his head, forces the flash away. That being said, though, actually, if you're against like a really tanky armor-based comp, then maybe Last Whisper's a good shout for second item.
Maybe.
Very dependent, I think, like situational. Well, that's Lucian being caught out of position right now from Obvious, and Cedrian on the hunt has been used as well, taking so much damage from that culling. Pretty much every bullet hit landed its mark. They get the kill. Death sentence underneath the tower. Beautiful play from Voidal, and they're going to pick up the kill on Sivir as well. So what looked like it was going to be a free 2-for-0 turns into a 2-for-1.
And that's really good for Cloud9 there. Yes, they lost Shannon on that exchange, but he finished off his Triforce from that extra gold that he just picked up. So that's a big power spike has just been added to that bot lane combination.
Yeah, that is pretty huge. Whereas Last Whisper has been finished off on Sivir, which is a nice power spike in itself for her as well. But I have to favour Lucian in these team fights if he can get the full culling off, especially with Thresh. Voidal, people who don't realise, played for Gambit. He's an ex-LCS player. He's a phenomenally good Thresh player as well. So definitely one to watch out for as this game progresses on.
Now that mid tower is very, very low on health. Xyras has Equalizer available here as well, so it's a good disengage tool. That's one thing to note about Equalizers. It will zone out a very large area of the map should you choose to place it to try and disengage. Just trying to follow that action, just make sure that nobody ends up falling. But it's also very good during fights as well. The massive amount of damage it can do. The longer people stay on it, the more damage it does.
Well, I think Pantheon should be just fine. Ignite was ticking down, but still, it's nice to put down some pressure. And did it actually pick up that blue? I believe she did.
I'm looking for it.
I'm pretty sure I saw the blue relics around her there, so that was really, really nice from and Faculty if they did pick that one up. But I was also going to say something before about the fact that Sigu had a nice start to this game. First 5 minutes was by and large very, very strong, but haven't really seen him do a great deal other than use his ultimate defensively when caught. So they're not playing aggressive with his ult. They're not using the strengths of Lulu, I have to feel, in this game.
That is one thing that I think they need to keep in mind more, is that Lulu can be incredibly aggressive when she needs to be. Also very safe in lane, but sometimes you need to start forcing the issue. it's not always good enough to play reactive. Sometimes you've really got to push things, as Cloud9 are doing now. They're going to get forced out for a second, but there's the equalizer.
Equalizer on Grand Skyfall. That is massive burst damage. Has balls. It's going to be falling down, but Zed has already picked up the mark of Vi. So 1 for 1. Drake is still alive, but the tank of Faculty is dangerously low, and his ultimate's just about to wear off. So if they wait a bit longer, they may try and re-engage on this. That being said, though, Zed is also flashing up red, so they may just want to wait until Dragon is more suitable timing.
Yeah, both junglers are actually down as well. They were the two that died there. So no smites available leaves it a very, very risky attempt at Dragon. So both teams are actually just going to back off, regroup, and set themselves up for likely another Dragon fight in a minute or so's time.
And as you were mentioning before as well with Rumble, Ultimate is so good in so many different ways. It's good offensively, defensively, and also isolating a target from the rest of the pack. Because no one wants to be stood on flames. It's just, you've learnt this in World of Warcraft. Like, from a young age, don't stand on fire, it hurts.
I'm going to be honest, if the only reason you know not to stand on fire is from playing World of Warcraft, I'm a little bit concerned of your upbringing.
I think the Darwin Award would have taken effect a long time ago if you didn't know not to stand on fire. Cedrion has caught himself a Voidal who's just going to be running away. And well, we talked about it before. Pick the opportune moment to strike, get that Dragon. Exactly what Faculty have done. But this could be at the cost of their top tower because Zed is pushing very aggressively. Lucian put down some damage on mid as well.
Yeah, they didn't manage to get mid from that. So I thought they may have been cut out there along that middle push if Cloud9 had gone for it. But seemingly chose not to. Top lane, however, has gone down in their favor. And I got a question for you. How does Equalizer stay on fire on River?
Because
science.
I don't even know. I honestly don't know. How come when you equalize the trees, it doesn't start a forest fire? Indeed.
All of these questions and more. I'm sure we can think of some more, but to be honest, environmental effects aren't that much of a part.
In a game where you have stuff like Kha'Zix, a big bug, and Kog'Maw, and now Vel'Koz.
I want realism, man.
Yeah.
I want realism.
A realistic version of League of Legends would be the most boring thing ever. You cast like Punch, and kick, and flick. What a great game that would be. Either way, Triforce, though, Featherban has been caught out here from the Assault, and Battery will be using the Death Mark, though. Oh my goodness, the damage is huge. Here comes a Grand Skyfall on the Equalizer as well. Trying to turn this one back around, but the AD carry in prime position to pick these kills up. Cedrion takes down Pantheon there, and they are going to back away. So 2 for 0. And again, Cloud9 just not really firing on all cylinders, but they're picking up the objectives, and they'll take 2 deaths for mid tower for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah. They'll push on hard towards this, and I wonder, will they be able to do enough damage onto this inhibitor tower? You got Home Guard Lulu coming out pretty quickly there. Death Sentence, Dark Passage keeps Shannon safe on that exchange, and I think I've figured it out. And this is a long, a long shot. So you know how the patch notes said that now Rumble's Flame Spitter actually shoots fire and not meatballs? Right. That was the wording in the patch notes. Have you ever had like a meatball sub that's just like insanely hot, that even when you like cool it, it's still incredibly hot? Now the Equalizer is just meatballs that get fired out. The marinara sauce is just too hot.
Yes, you've got
Nailed
a believer in me. It's meatballs. That's the explanation. All meatballs. It's meaning to life too, meatballs. But they're pushing mid. Like on topic of League of Legends, they are trying to push mid right now, but they don't have a creep wave to do so. I can see you laughing in the corner of my eye. Featherban's pushing top.
There is a lot of cloth armor on the side of Faculty. Forbidden's going to get away. It's to be expected against a team that has Pantheon, Lucian, Zed. Ooh. Just at this point, it's something that we just haven't seen too much recently. Cloth armor is an item that, while I'm not saying it's fallen off or anything, but specifically we used to see cloth armor starts. It obviously goes into a lot of items. You look at it goes into Warden's Mail for Randu and Zoman. Just is something that I haven't seen in a little while. Just seeing 3 cloth armors sat there.
Yeah, just kind of chilling out.
Yeah.
Maybe Vi is going for something like Warden's Mail or something.
It'll be
like
a Warden's Mail into a Randu. It's just it's strange to see somebody not quite have enough to pick up Warden's Mail.
Yeah, that is true, because as you say, cloth armor used to be a very common occurrence to just see them laying around that didn't even build into anything. It was just a very cost-efficient item, but the game has changed significantly since then. I still remember when Warwick was a viable jungler, way back.
Well, now he's a viable top.
Yeah, but when he was like one of the only junglers you could play because everyone else would die at the camps. It was like him and Master Yi. Old school.
That's a long time ago. I saw another conversation on Twitter. Most of the things I say seem to come from Twitter, but there was on about what if they had a game mode where you played champions that were as strong as they were on release, at which point I'm like, just give me TF.
Jackson TF.
Yeah.
When TF used to have his ultimate global on his E.
Yep.
Just as an ability, because
why not?
Cool.
Yeah.
Or Jax when he had dodge. Put dodge back in the game.
No, we
Phantom
don't need
Dances, GG well played, no one can touch him.
Yeah. There's people that are like, what is dodge here? Which is self-explanatory, but that used to exist in the game. Dodge runes.
The good old days. When I absolutely hated Jax with a passion. Still don't particularly like him now, but this game has definitely started to slow down a tiny bit.
It has.
Which is why we're going on tangents about random stuff, because it's a case of they're trying to outmaneuver one another and kind of push a lane here and there. But ultimately, not a great deal's happening. I say that, but Voidal misses a death sentence, lands the box onto Obvious after eating a Tibbers of his own. And now Zed's pushing bottom again. And this is going to be a consistent problem, Stress. They have to deal with his split pushing capabilities.
They have to. They keep sending Lulu down there, and we can see that Lulu's strong enough that Forbiven kind of just feels a little bit scared. But if Forbiven gets one kind of inkling that he can go in, he will.
Oh, that's a dead Sigurd. Pretty short. Yes, indeed. Very well played by Forbiven. Again, you said this before. If you can get the wild growth used before using Death Mark and all damage afterwards, you're all going to come out ahead. Febiven's going to die. Assault and Battery was used. Again, I don't think Obvious wanted to use the ultimate, but he also didn't want him to escape.
Yeah. And now it's a case of what can Cloud9 do across the map. They've got Rumble clearing out top wave. It doesn't look like they'll be able to get anything objective-wise. Dragon is up in 10 seconds, actually, so they could look to prepare for that, but it's all about the numbers game of how many they can get to the area before end faculty.
This is an insanely close game. Look at the gold, 100 in it in favor to end faculty. And I think a lot of people would have thought that Cloud9 would have walked all over end faculty in this game, in this series indeed. But the fact they got 2 substitutes and the fact that end faculty are putting on a really good performance here suggests otherwise.
Yeah, it's one of the things we talked about was substitutes are so difficult in such a critical position as jungle, that it can be difficult to transition, and actually end faculty. Oh, this could be a good passage of play from them. If they can take down the Baron while Cloud9 could be distracted at Dragon, that's huge.
This is ballsy play, but it seems to be working for them because they have 3 players as misdirection in mid. It's like, no, we're not doing Baron. We've got our AD carry here in mid lane, while in the meanwhile, it's absolutely taking it. And I don't think that Cloud9 have any idea of what's going on right now. They're going to pick up the Baron. They're going to notice the Baron buff in mid now, and they're going to all collectively facepalm.
Yeah, they are going to head to Dragon, and that might not be the place to go if they're grouping up here. There's going to be the extra damage coming out from end faculty, but very wisely, they know that they can cut off Cloud9 by just heading to that middle lane. They can take down the first tower. They have the regeneration from Baron should they choose to push in the second, but they don't want to push too far too fast.
There's a big call and a big play from faculty. And when they recall, they're going to have a large chunk of gold to spend. And then with the Baron buff, like you say, the health regen is going to allow them to just siege down towers. And they can start to make plays.
One thing to take note of is Hyanan is farming incredibly well. 312 CS before the 30-minute mark is impressive.
Wow.
And that's not on a mid laner that just sits there. That's on an AD carry that's traded and has roamed and has pushed towers.
And an AD carry that's against a 5-on-1 Sivir.
Yeah.
That's amazing CS.
It's pretty good.
I'm really impressed by that CS. And that is shown itself in his items, that even though he's a couple kills and a couple of objectives behind Sivir, it's still pretty close in terms of items.
Yeah, Voidal might be caught out here, though. We've got to be careful that Mountain doesn't go for any kind of flash engage. Both Flash and Tibbers are available. So it's a case of Cloud9 not stacking for this next couple of minutes.
Yep, and then Faculty, as I said before, they can afford to start to siege towers now because of the Baron buff health regeneration. And it's just a case of if Mountain sees an opportunity, you can bet your bottom dollar that he is going to flash Tibbers and try and clean up as many players from Cloud9 as possible.
Yeah, they've got to avoid that, though. Really, that would be catastrophic for Cloud9. Cloud9 have to last out this Baron buff. That's really their objective right now, is take as much time as possible so that End Faculty can't engage.
Close from Voidal with a death sentence, but not quite landing on Renekton. Culling was used as well to clear out the creep wave. They do not want to lose this tower. But if they stay too long stressed when they really shouldn't, this can actually spell doom for their entire game. Because that tower is very, very low.
Yeah, it is. And then it's the question of what's worth it, the tower or the team fight. And unless they get a perfect team fight, it is not going to be worth their lives.
So looking for Flash Tibbers from Mountain or potentially a Voidal, great death sentence. But instead, the tower's just going to fall, going out with a whimper rather than a bang.
Yeah, I think that's the right choice, just to let it fall. It's another thing that you don't have to really think about anymore. You don't have to question whether you want to go in on that engage. Cloud9 are looking a little bit lost right now.
Yeah, I think it's a case they're trying to stall until Baron's done.
Yeah.
And then maybe try and make plays after that. Allow some characters to get back in the game, because I'm looking right now at Pantheon, and 86 farm to Vi's 146. Oh, Zyra's actually just been caught. And in fact, very well may have been a bait, as Siggy's taking a lot of damage in return, even through the wild growth. Here comes Harlan from the side on the Lucian. However, Lulu managed to pick up that kill afterwards onto Zed. And now Obvious has got taken out for the double kill for Lucian. That's with Baron buff. And it got completely decimated.
It's all down to the damage Shannon is doing. From that extra farm that he's had the items to keep up. They landed the crowd control they needed, and it looks like Lucian just cleaned up that fight as easily as possible.
Yeah, double kill. As you said, awesome farm on top of that as well. And I have to remember that that fight started off with Sigu cancelling a recall from Zyraz. That's how it all began. I think he assumed that he could either cancel a recall or maybe even go for the kill. And it was a clear bait, because as soon as that happened, Febiven just flanked around from the top, and, well, the rest is history.
The rest is history, and now we're even on kills. Still End Faculty, slightly ahead on gold. It's only a slight lead, just around 1,000 gold. So at this point in the game, doesn't exactly equate to all that much, but it's what you do with the map control that you have. And up until now, End Faculty have had map control for the last couple of minutes of this game. Now Cloud9 have been able to push out of their base. There's no Baron buff to really be worried about. Now they can start looking to control the map once again.
The thing is, though, even though they've had map control, they're still a tower behind.
Yeah.
So they've had the control, but they've not really converted that into power. They've not really, you know, clenched their fist and smashed down a couple more towers. And I think they'll be really disappointed, I should say, with that last Baron, that not only did they not manage to get an inhib tower, but on top of that, they actually lost a 2-0 trade.
And we talked earlier about a Baron buff that kind of just got timed out. That's not really what you want from Baron.
Exactly.
Because then you're just getting the gold, which, you know, is always going to be efficient. You're always wanting that gold from killing Baron Nashor, but I would love to see stats on the efficiency of Baron, of how many objectives are taken when, on average, when a team has Baron. That would be a really cool stat to have.
It would. It would be very, very nice to see, actually. I'd be very interested, especially in this tournament as well, because we've had a couple Barons that weren't really that useful, but Pronbearer is taking point right now. Been slowed a few times. That's a beautiful box from Voidal, but is it going to be enough to stop the onslaught? Shut down onto Lucian from Vi. Now going to be chasing on towards Zyraz instead, who goes instantly down. Look at Pantheon's positioning. He was nowhere near in that fight, was not able to use the Grand Sky Fall, and therefore that is a free 2 for 0. And that's going to be an inhibitor as well.
Yeah, and the other member that wasn't there was Forbidden, who was down in the bottom lane pushing on Zed. The problem is he has to recall now. There is no option for him. Luckily, Pronbear recalled as well, so it means that End Faculty weren't committing to that with all 5 members, but Cloud9 just getting caught out there with their pants down.
Definitely, around their ankles. And it wasn't exactly the greatest positioning. And I think that some of that could be to do with the communication. Because their jungler was near top, their mid was at bottom, and then the rest of the 3 players got caught in mid. And it's like, if you know you don't have 5 players there, why are you getting in yourself a position where you can be caught in the first place?
Yeah.
Surely you should be really passive. So I think maybe that is in part due to the fact they have 2 substitutes.
And we've seen that have an effect a couple of times already in this game. This isn't exactly the Cloud9 that we're used to seeing. Cloud9 are usually very concise, very sharp with what calls they make. This is a big difference.
As you said, maybe Ku is the shot caller. Maybe he is the person that really drives the team and says, let's do this, let's do that. And without that player in, with a substitute in, I'm not saying IS Balls is playing bad or he's a bad player, but there's definitely going to be communication errors. There's going to be problems within the team when your Ku and Adamne are no longer playing.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen how that's going to continue throughout this game. Hooks onto Baron, but gets caught out.
Again, Voidal is in the wrong place at the wrong time. Here comes the Grand Skyfall, though, and the Equalizer as well. This is pretty brutal right now for Faculty, but actually, nothing is going to happen off the back of it. IHAS Balls instead will be jumping on top of Mountain, and they can't even kill the support. Obvious comes in from the backside, and now Cedric is going to be able to let loose on all the team members. Here comes Zed as well from the backside, but that's Sivir picking up a double kill. There's the triple kill for Cedric, a double kill, a triple kill actually coming in from the AD carry on the opposite side, looking for his quadra, but that's a beautiful boomerang blade. Quadra kill comes in for Lucian. He's actually got the pentakill. Oh my god.
It's all on Hyanan here. He has been an absolute machine, farming his way back into this game, and he is the key to all of the damage for Cloud9 right now. He has got so much damage, and that was a pretty well-worked pentakill for Hyanan.
What a time to pull that out as well. That was such a close-knit team fight. You had a couple of ultimates going completely whiffed, and then the 2 AD carries were the last 2 players. We've been told from production that we're going to jump into a replay of that fight, and I think it's definitely a good idea.
Let's watch Hyanan during this fight. He wasn't even there for the beginning of the fight. He has to cross his way over. Voidal gets dropped very quickly. After that, Equalizer is going to lock them down. And here we thought it was going so well for Faculty. But here comes Hyanan. He's going to come in from the side, land some damage, dashes forward before landing the culling. Takes out the first member, and from here the rest of Cloud9 are landing just enough damage, and the positions are just right enough for Hyanan to clean up. And here is just down to pure skill. Hyanan's dueling a Renekton, gets tagged heavily by the boomerang blade, knows to move and pick up the 4th kill before darting back over for that pentakill. Clinical Lucian play. That will make Zenon pretty happy to see.
Yeah, definitely will. Awesome pentakill, and now they're going to be engaging off this one. I hope they don't go desperation full self-destruct mode right now. If Everman taking point, doing lots of damage, as Jay has been popped in the meanwhile, and now Lucian is in prime position to strike as Zed will be going down. Here comes Obvious from the side, Assault and Battery on top of all the players, knocking them all back there, and now Cedrion is the AD carry that's going to be trying to pick up the pieces. Double kill from Lucian. From Lulu, I should say, sorry, onto Lucian. And it looks like they're actually pinging towards the base. So even though Lucian picked up the pentakill, this actually could be game.
It's not often that you see a pentakill end the game for the opposite team, but unfortunately that team fight didn't go the same way. The inhib comes up. That's a minor distraction now as they're going to push in. This will be the end of the game. This is 13 seconds until Thresh. They have enough time to power this down. Not even the Equalizer will save this one. And Faculty looking very strong here against Cloud9 Europe.
Hyanan must be so sad right now. Gets pentakill, still loses.
That's definitely one way to put it, as that was an explosive end to that game, and it kind of stalled out, but Faculty just had themselves their advantage and took the team fights when they could. A little bit of a blip with a pentakill going over to Hyanan, but from there, clinical end to that game.
It was an explosive start, and then a really slow mid game in that game, where it was kind of I would liken it to a game of chess where both teams were trying to outplay each other and position themselves where their enemy was weakest, and then there was just a massive explosion at the end. I think in that fight where the pentakill actually happened, the AD carries got 8 of the kills
they
out
did.
of 9. So both the ADs were going blow for blow, like two heavyweight boxers duking it out in the center of the ring, and it just so happens that Lucian had the killing blow at the end.
Yeah, when you had to mix in the rest of the teams, though, and he didn't quite have the position to maneuver around like he would have, kind of couldn't do the same amount of damage that he did in the previous fight. But we've had our first pentakill of the tournament, and that they don't come very often either. So, that's one to note. But another thing to note is we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes with game number 2 here between N Faculty and Cloud9 Eclipse. Stay with us here for the FACEIT Challenger Invitational number 2.